The International Space Station, you can see how this yaw maneuver is occurring on Russian thrusters, a slow, deliberate maneuver to place the longitudinal axis of the International Space Station directly in view of the orbiter for the initiation of this fly-around by Doug Hurley, so that unique documentation of certain areas of the station not before seen during one of these activities can be captured in this, the final undocking and fly-around of a space shuttle of the International Space Station. At the back of the cargo bay of Atlantis is the Raffaello multi-purpose logistics module that delivered 4.5 tons of supplies to stockpile the station for the next year. At the very rear of the cargo bay, the failed pump module that was retrieved a week ago by Mike Fossum and Ron Garan during their spacewalk and maneuvered down onto a truss at the very back of the cargo bay for the trip back home and analysis by engineers on the ground. You can see the shuttle's robotic arm and its 51-foot-long orbiter boom sensor system extension in the correct orientation to begin the late inspection of the reinforced carbon-carbon of the shuttle's wings and its nose cap, following its final separation a bit later today. That late inspection will provide mission managers the final piece of data to provide just one single additional data point of reassurance that Atlantis' heat shield is in good shape for Thursday morning's re-entry back to Earth and a pre-dawn landing at the Kennedy Space Center. Atlantis and the International Space Station flying 241 miles over the border between Spain and Portugal. This view now from the television cameras on Atlantis, looking back at the International Space Station as it continues its yaw maneuver. This is Mission Control Houston in the Space Station Flight Control Room. The Power Systems Officer is reporting to Flight Director Jerry Jason some shadowing on some of the struts for the solar arrays. This is known as longeron shadowing. Although they haven't broken the threshold yet, they're watching that very carefully. About 8.5 more minutes for this yaw maneuver. If, in fact, they do break the longeron shadowing threshold, in other words, temperatures affecting the struts on the solar arrays, we have fairly tight limits on how cold those struts can get. But if the shadowing does occur to a point that we don't feel comfortable, we'll just stop the maneuver and Atlantis will begin its fly around. However, we are continuing the maneuver at this point. You can see this extremely unique view of the International Space Station as Atlantis sits just over 600 feet away.
Atlantis, Houston on the big loop for TCS. We should be on reflector 2 right now.
Copy, reflector 2, we'll put that in.
Rex Walheim aboard Atlantis, monitoring the variety of rendezvous tools available for the crew so that they can properly evaluate their distance from the International Space Station and what was their separation rate, and those tools again will be used to determine and maintain a radial distance of about 600 feet or so as they begin the fly around. Not yet underway. Pilot Doug Hurley waiting now for just a few more minutes for this yaw maneuver to be completed. Engineers in the mission evaluation room are monitoring the temperatures on the struts for the solar arrays. So far, so good, as we are nearing the completion of this 90-degree yaw maneuver.
Hey, Houston, we're getting really consistent HHL marks on just about the CG in the neighborhood of 657, so I'm not really sure about reflector 2.
Okay, thanks, Fergie. We'll take a look.
Yeah, marks, last 5 marks, very consistent at 657 feet, right on the CG. And these are PMM shots is what Rex has taken. And again, 657, very consistent.
Chris Ferguson indicating that Rex Walheim is getting consistent marks through the handheld laser that he's using.
Atlantis on the big loop. Yeah, what we think is going on is you've got good handheld laser, of course, and we do think it's reflector 2, but the attitude is so out in RPOP, so that's probably accounting for it. Once the once the maneuver stops in a few degrees, then we'll have a new ISS attitude for you.
Okay, we copy, Steve, and per our training, we're going to focus mainly on HHL throughout this.
Roger, and concur.
Still 6:59 with 0 opening.
Roger, Atlantis. Atlantis, we think you can put in the new station attitude now on RPOP. Pitch yaw roll would be 270.00 when the maneuver is complete, but as you can see, it's pretty close.
Okay, we'll do that.
Hey, we've got an update from rendezvous. Pitch yaw roll is 270.0.
Pitch yaw roll 270.0.
Good readback.
Atlantis sitting rock steady, 659 feet in front of the International Space Station, about 2.5 minutes to go in the yaw maneuver, and the attitude determination and control officer, as well as the power systems officer in the station flight control room, reporting everything looking good, and that temperatures on the struts for the solar arrays have come down a bit, so it appears as if we're in good shape. This yaw maneuver should be able to be completed fully to its full 90-degree yaw, and then the initiation of the half-lap fly-around by pilot Doug Hurley will get underway. You can see the 4 vehicles as appendages from the Russian segment of the International Space Station, 2 Soyuz vehicles, 2 Progress resupply vehicles at the International Space Station for the 6 crew members comprising the Expedition 28 crew. And to illustrate this 90-degree maneuver on the far right of the longitudinal axis of the space station, that is pressurized mating adapter number 2, from which Atlantis undocked 55 minutes ago.